One of the costliest floods in Tulsa history hit 30 years ago along the Arkansas River.
And today, many of you are still at risk. The dangers to life and property, real. As Chief Meteorologist Travis Meyer tells us, the challenge is to be prepared for the next major flood by learning the lessons of '86.
October 1986, a devastating flood hit the Tulsa area when the Arkansas River raged out of its banks. It was a true perfect storm. A stalled front combined with moisture from a hurricane dumped up to over 20 inches of rain just upstream of the Arkansas River Basin right around the Keystone Dam area. That forced record releases from Keystone Dam. From Sand Springs to Brookside to Jinx and Bixby, people had to be evacuated. Water covered streets and flooded thousands of properties with more than $65 million in damage throughout Tulsa County alone. Many areas now developed, like Katie Banning's new Bixby neighborhood, were underwater in 1986, and she had no idea.
Had we been told, we would have got a second opinion and checked with our insurance company to make sure it was safe to move in.
Today, when building in the Arkansas River floodplain, developers are only required to reveal if a property sits inside the 100-year floodplain, which means there's a 1% yearly chance of flooding. The '86 flood is considered a once-in-200-year flood, and there is no disclosure requirement for that. Galen Pins is an expert on the Arkansas River flood control and potential development along the river.
We learned a lot from that flood in that the 100-year protection in some areas may not be adequate.
Since '86, levees built to handle the 100-year flood protect Tulsa and Sand Springs and Jinx, but bring their own problems, causing concern for places like Bixby.
By building a levee in one area, you actually can exacerbate flooding downstream in another area.
That leaves downstream communities more vulnerable. Flying over Bixby, Jinx, and Tulsa, you can see how much has been built in some areas that were once flooded. Many of these areas lie in the floodplain. Some of these places have taken extra steps, though, to protect for the next flood disaster, like Margaritaville Resort and Hotel. River Spirit project manager Randy Hall and his crew engineered a widened concrete drainage channel funneling storm runoff underneath the resort. This tributary into the river is built to handle more water than the 1986 flood, and also to help mitigate flooding near 81st and Riverside from Fred Creek.
All of our decisions were based on what are we going to do in the event of, or how are we going to plan this building for what could happen.
The entire building was built to withstand a flood that would rise 1 foot above what happened in 1986. Advances in technology give Hull less concern for a catastrophic event.
I'm more confident than what happened in '86 because the information is a lot better that we have. The monitoring is a lot better. We have a lot more time to do something in the event of a major flood event, and our capacity is greater.
But not everyone is building above minimum standards. An overview of what could be underwater if a 200 or even a 500-year flood happened shows many neighborhoods, businesses, and planned developments flooded, hundreds of millions of dollars in damage.
It's going to be a man-made flood, if you will. There will be deliberate releases at these high flood levels, and we will have warning, just like we did in '86, to get out of the way, which is the best solution.
And knowing your risk is the first step to staying safe.
Go to the FEMA website or go to your local floodplain manager, ask to look at the floodplain maps to see what flood zone you're in. Everybody should do that, whether you think you're on high ground or not, because there are some isolated floodplain issues that you need to be aware of in certain watersheds.
Experts say flood insurance is vital, even with the extra expense.
We would look into it if somebody advised us to, or, we would think about it.
You have to know your history to best prepare for your future. Experts recommend building in flood-prone areas to the 1986 flood level plus 1 foot.
Nature can always outdo itself in doing harm to us that live in homes that are vulnerable.
Well, you have to know your history to be better prepared for your future. That makes sense. Now, experts recommend building in flood-prone areas to the 1986 flood level plus 1 foot. That means it's over a 1 in 200-year flood, which hopefully is not going to be seen again. But to see the maps of the Tulsa area and the floodplains, visit the web version of our News on 6 story at newson6.com, because we do believe it is well worth your time, especially if you live along the Arkansas River around Tulsa.